Afternoon, folks. Happy Wednesday. I hope you're getting through your working week all right. If you like what I do, please head on down to the Patreon down below and support me, or head on over to become a member of the channel. Or, if you can't do any of those two things, like and subscribe to the videos, because they always help me. And, if you want to get anything, make sure you get it from Composite Games if it's hobby-wise. Not only do you help them, because they're a cool little shop, but you also help me too, because they help me build the Astral Blades and get prizes for prize draws, and our next one is this weekend. Not sure what day we're doing it on, but it will be this weekend, where you have 2 chances to win £50 worth of models. All for you. I don't care where you are in the world, I will get them to you even if I have to send them myself. To enter into that, all you got to do is be a patron or become a member of the channel. I don't care how much is pledged or whatever. Could be 50p, could be thousands of pounds. No, don't do it. Don't do that. But could be 50p, could be £1, could be whatever. I don't mind. As long as you are in there, you will be a part of that prize draw. So, let's get on with it and read some Hobby Nightmares. The reason why I do a pitch like that at the start of every video, apart from me like wanting to get my channel out there and grow as a content creator, it's also to make sure that I can get to the 3-minute mark and start swearing. Because I can start worrying about swearing when I get to the 3-minute mark. You know, it just is what it is. But anyway, let's get through some of these Hobby Nightmares, shall we? Because every single time I ask you awesome people to send me some stuff, you always send me loads of things, and I love it. So thank you very, very, very much. I am now inundated again, but keep sending them in. By the way, Warhammer 3 Immortal Empires came out today, and I just loaded it up. Just to have a little look around and see what's what. And my god, that thing looks exciting. That thing looks really exciting, so I can't wait to take my ogres and start just smashing things up all across the old world and across the new world, or wherever. Whoever wants to be eaten can be eaten when I have my beautiful ogres. So, let's get to work so I can actually get to play later on. Lex says, "Hello, Northern Exile, saviour of tomorrow." Hello, Lex. Love what you do and joined the Discord recently. Good lad. Yeah, if you guys want to join too, the Discord is in the link is in the description down below, so make sure it's free. Go and have a little chat to us if you want. My name is on there. My name on there is Deep V. Okay, cool. He says, "I don't post on there a lot, but I will try to get more involved. I first got into 40k in the 90s, lived in Edinburgh, and spent many weeks and evenings in the Edinburgh store. Was probably one of the time vampires that you referred to, but hey, I was 11 or 12 years old, to be fair. Well, yeah, if you're young, guy, that doesn't count. That doesn't count. Kids don't know what they're doing, all right? You just love the hobby. You're not a time vampire if you're a kid, because you're not making decisions about your own economic future, essentially. You know, if the kid comes into my store and can't buy anything, that's not his fault. Not that I'm gonna bitch out the parents for, like, you know, not being able to buy him anything, but, like, that's not his fault. Completely not his fault. So I'm not gonna, like, you're not a time vampire if you're a kid. You get a free pass. Lex says, "I think the Edinburgh store had a bit of a different vibe, though. They were always really welcoming and would have all-day games on Saturday or Sunday with all 3 tables side by side to create one big battlefield, and depending on how many people were in the store, everybody would control 1 or 2 units. You could bring your own units or use one of the store units." Wow. "And this was back in the day when GW actually encouraged you to make your own terrain. Some of the tables in the store were really epic." That's really cool, man. And that's something that's been lost from Games Workshop stores over the years. I mean, I honestly think the worst thing that could have happened to us as a community was the pandemic. Because that happening essentially gave Games Workshop an excuse to shut games down in the store. And now, I mean, my local store is Liverpool, and I have a few others around as well. You're not allowed to play games in the stores. Like, I literally know that because I called asking, and they said, "No, you're not allowed to play games in store. We don't play games in store anymore." Every single time I walk past that store, it's near empty. Everyone's just standing around, just shrugging, you know, thinking, "Oh, well, you know, do you want to buy anything? No, we'll get out then," sort of thing. You know, it's just one of those. It's horrible. But anyway, this sounds like the late 90s, early noughties, or even mid-noughties golden age of playing games in Games Workshop stores. Anyway, Lex says, "I have 2 hobby nightmares to share with you, but they are more light-hearted than actual nightmares. Also, I have a GW interview nightmare, but we'll save that for another time." Yes, send me that one. That sounds really interesting. So he says, So I got back into the hobby just before Papa Nurgle locked us all up. Can't lie, I'm an antisocial a-hole, so being told that it's the law to stay inside and stay away from people was a bit of a dream come true. Yeah, I'm the same, man. I would have... When the pandemic was going on, I really wanted to get to America, and I was being held here because of the pandemic, you know. And so, the one time the pandemic comes along, I would have loved the pandemic at any other time. But what, I need to stay in and just write and do work from home and play video games and wow, okay. You know, that literally would have been the best ever. But yeah, there we go. My partner passed away in 2019. Oh, I'm very sorry about that, man. That's horrible. And obviously, I was still grieving and heavily depressed when the lockdown hit. Maybe that's why I appreciated the lockdown so much. I hadn't played 40k since the golden age of 2nd edition, but my local newsagent had been getting the Conquest magazine, and I had been buying the odd one here and there just because the minis looked so cool, and it was relatively cheap. So, I had a load of minis, but they were just sat there doing nothing. It wasn't until my partner passed away that I decided, you know what, sod it. Why the hell do I even care about the neckbeard sweaty nerd stigma anymore? People can think what they want. And decided to start a GSC army. GSC army? Anyway, as a long-time Alien/HR Geiger fan, the minis really appealed to me. Genestealer cults. Okay, with you, Genestealer cults. And about a month before we all got locked down, I got a massive tax rebate of just under £1,000. So, in my depressed state, I decided to spend it all on plastic crack. Spent most of lockdown building and painting my Genestealer cult. Had been talking with a mate who didn't know I was into the hobby, and we arranged to have a game when lockdown was over. Little did I know how much 40k had changed since 2nd edition. In my mind, all my grubs were gonna come from underground and ruin his day, like the scene in Aliens where they're coming out of the goddamn walls. My mate played Space Marines, so you can imagine how it went. Yes, 3,000 point game. Wow, that must have taken a long time. And by the end of turn 3 or 4, my dead pal consisted of my entire army, and his consisted of 6 models. Not 6 units, but 6 models. For fuck's sake. Can't say I didn't feel a bit dejected seeing my whole army get tabled, but it was still a good day with my bro, and he wasn't an arsehole about it. We sat for at least an hour chatting, and him giving me advice on what I did wrong and how to improve. Well, good on you for taking that advice. As long as he wasn't doing it in a bitchy way, we can let him off. Have had several games with him since. Won some, lost some, but it's always a good time, and that's what matters. Well, to be honest with you, man, if you're Genestealer cults and you're beating Space Marine armies at 3,000 point level, you're doing very well. Like, you're doing very well for yourself. So well done. This one, I don't know if it counts as a hobby nightmare or a hobby-related nightmare, but here is another story. At the time, it wasn't funny, at all, but now I can look back and laugh about it. I found out about a one-day 40k tournament through my friendly local gaming club. I went into it not expecting to win, but hey, fuck it, it's an excuse to take the day off work and play with my toys with some fellow nerds. I won't go into details of all the games, but I came last. As in, stone cold last. Wasn't too bothered, as I won some wooden spoon vouchers. Afterwards, went into town with my bros. Excellent, lovely to see that. Oh, my bros from the... Sorry, I lost my place. With my bros from the gaming club, and had some drinks and a good night out. I woke up the next day, and the lady I was seeing at the time is being all weird with me. Oh, okay. Let's see what happens here. You know when you can tell that something isn't right? Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna say this, guys. Women aren't very good at hiding that. I've had girlfriends before say to me, oh, if I'm upset, you probably won't know because I'm like, you know, I'm quite locked inside with my emotions. Bullshit. The second anything is wrong with a woman, most men click their fingers, they know straight away something's off, something's weird, and you're almost afraid to ask. Do you know what I mean? Especially if you like the girl. So, Lex says, I was hanging out of my arse, so couldn't even be bothered with her cryptic messages. But then she proceeds to tell me that while I was out getting drunk with my mates, she had let some guy come into her bed. Said they slept in the same bed, but didn't do anything. Yeah, bullshit. Why is she telling you then? Even if that's true, that's still cheating in my eyes. If it's not cheating, it's just head fuckery I don't need. Good lad. Right, okay. Well, I will say this. Yeah, it's not cheating for me, because, like, and I have zero tolerance, so technically it's not cheating. But, again, you've got that, it's head, you got it, you not hit it on the head. It's head fuckery you don't need, right? And that's why I have a zero tolerance on all things like that. If a girl that I'm with flirting with somebody, they're done. We're done. Goodbye. I don't care how long I've been with you for. Goodbye. Right? That's it. I don't need it. I don't need it in my life. Don't want it in my life. Off you go. You think I'm not good enough? Go fuck yourself. Because it's only happened twice, but each time it's happened where I've had to dump somebody because that's happened, I've always come back to them later on, and they've been like skegheads. You know, they've been like girls who sleep around a lot. They've been girls who tend to get into a lot of trouble. Listen, it's a surefire sign. It's a big red flag saying dumpster fire, leave, put her in the sea. She belongs to the streets, right? Always listen to your heart and listen to it, because men's heads and hearts are mostly two things. They're one, in their pants most of the time, and two, when they're not and they're interlinking and you actually get that feeling of, ooh, I don't know about this, respond to that feeling and walk away. Yeah, this head fuckery you don't need. Well done, Lex. Well done, man. Really good way of putting it. He said, that's when it all just hit me. Like, you came last in the tournament and your girl just cheated on you. You are just a fucking loser at everything. Can laugh about it now, but at the time it was pretty devastating. Peace out, brother. Love you long time. Oh, shit, man. I mean, one, you know, anybody who goes through what you went through and losing your partner and recovering to the point where, you know, you get back into a hobby that you've loved for most of your life, that's not loser material for me. Do you know what I mean? That's not something that a piece of shit would do. That's not something that a little beta male would actually do. You got up, you got on with your life, and you kicked it right in the teeth, right? You went back to work, you rebuilt. You know, the one thing I can say about my devastating breakup when I was in the US was that it took me a while, but eventually it showed me my worth as a strong person. You know, I've been single since I've been back, and I've dated here and there. I've done a bit, if you know what I mean, here and there. But every single time somebody gets close and I'm just not feeling it, instead of just jumping into a relationship because it's better than being alone, I tell them to fuck off. No, I'm sorry. Like this isn't working out. Like we're not gonna. I'm 34. You know, I'm not settling now, and I'm done. I'm quite alright on my own, thank you. There's nothing more powerful than being alright on your own. That is a kryptonite for toxic people. You know, for toxic people who want to nail you down, men and women who want to nail you down into a relationship, that's their kryptonite. If you're okay on your own, right? What you got to make sure you know how to handle is if you meet somebody who is nice, who is out for your best intentions, who is good for you, you got to make sure that you're not shutting the door on them as well, because it can be quite easy to do. Yeah. But you sound like you're crushing it, man. And if you ever need any help, you said it yourself. Come on the Discord. Come and talk to us. Come and make sure that you know you're getting your good chat in. And if you're struggling for games, we've got a game finder too. Come and have a word with us. Anyway, Wolflord says, a short guy's wishful thinking. So Wolflord is the German fellow who's been on the channel once or twice, who sent us some messages and some really cool stories from his past. And this story is called A Short Guy's Wishful Thinking. Wolflord says, now this story is not really hobby related. Okay, should I be reading it then? Since it took place in my local gym years after I quit the hobby, around 2015. Well, you are a hobbyist in your local area, so I guess, yeah, we can read it out. But the protagonist of my little tale used to also be in the hobby, and very much fits a certain stereotype. Considering how long this has gotten already, I will try and keep it short. Really need to work on that anyways, I guess. Now the guy I'm talking about, let's call him John, had really gotten himself into a much better shape, with a six-pack and an overall pretty good look. He is also not an ugly guy at all, but has one giant, no pun intended, flaw. He is really short, at 5'5", 165 centimeters, and also built like one of Santa's little elves.
Okay.
For this reason, he always struggled with girls, and always tried to make up for it by acting overly confident among us guys. Yeah, that's little man syndrome. Napoleon syndrome happens. So the one thing I need to say on that is I had a friend of mine, and he's about 6'4", you know, and called Lawrence. I think I've mentioned him on the channel before. Anyway, when we were in university, he was talking to a girl online, and she seemed relatively okay, a bit off now and again, you know what I mean? She was the kind of girl who would chase him when he didn't text her back, but then immediately when he said, okay, I'll text you, she just stopped texting him. A typical chaser, you know, time waster, just wants a bit of an ego boost. Anyway, Lawrence, being a typical man and being a typical Lawrence, didn't read her profile on Tinder. He just like saw how fit she was and swiped right, and he went and, you know, got talking to her a little bit more, and his height isn't on his profile. And she said, wait a minute, how... They finally organised a drink that he chased for, and she said, wait a minute, how tall are you? And he said, well, I'm 6'4", why? And she said, oh, good, right, yeah, because I just refuse to date anybody below 5'9". You know, I just refuse. And he said, oh, okay. Well, how tall are you, if you don't mind me asking? And she says, well, I don't know why that's important. And he goes, well, you asked me, so I'm asking you, how tall are you? And she said, well, I'm 5'6". And he goes, ah, yeah, sorry, I don't date anybody below 5'9" either. So she responds with, you know, well, how dare you? You know, that's not nice. That's really, really shallow of you. And he said, well, hang on. Whoa, 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 whoa. Hang on a second. Hang on a second. Reread the conversation. Educate yourself. And unmatch from me, please. And then he just closed Tinder and, you know, came down to the bar, the Stag's Head, and told me what had happened as we over a few pints. Now, Lawrence was a bit of a player anyway, so he knew how to handle shit like that. But yeah, I just love it when shit like that happens. Apparently, like, she didn't unmatch from him, so he had to do it himself. But at the end of the day, there's nothing more powerful than a guy who knows his own worth and is able to to say no. No is the sexiest word in Hollywood. It really is. It just... No, I'm okay, thank you. You know. Anyway. Now, on the day in question, Stacy, quote-unquote, showed up for the second time, as I recall, and it was the first time she had been seen there. Now, Stacy is a typical hottie. 24, very much in shape, and also plays volleyball. Always tanned, with an ass to die for, and a pair of jaw-dropping knockers. The way older blokes talk about women's hilarious. Pair of jaw-dropping norks. Anyway, she also had a very pretty face. He's just carrying on. How many of these sentences are about this woman? But with the stereotypical "don't even think about it" look in her eyes. And since she is also at least 5'11", 99% of guys fuck right off after that look. Now, of course, she does the same workout routine any hottie does. Ass exercises all day long. I'm not kidding here. Hip thrusts, lunges, kickbacks, you name it. She does it, and of course, she does it all in the tightest, whitest, and most dick-hardening dress possible. Oh, Jesus. Since I know people who know her, I also know she is in a long-term relationship with a 6'4" guy who is hung like a horse and well off. So, business as usual. I love this guy, he's hilarious. When John laid eyes on her for the first time, he just shut up, which is rare for him, and actually managed to be quite successful at staring at her without being overly creepy or getting caught, like a true professional. Of course, he never talked to her or even came near her. Now, the moment she left, us guys were, of course, talking about her latest performance of "Check me out, but don't ask me out." John, of course, felt the need to say something like, "Yeah, she's alright, I guess." I kinda had to reply, "Dude, she's not only super hot, but she's also a head taller than you." His answer to this day is like a running gag in our circle, since it was so over the top, removed from reality, and filled to the brim with fake confidence. He says, "Tell you what, once you are banging her from behind in the shower, she's not all that tall anymore." Okay. All right, dude. Whenever I think about it, I see a terrier trying to bang a Great Dane before my eyes. Well, when you think about it, it's like a dog chasing a car. You know, he's never going to catch it. And even if he did, he couldn't drive the fucking thing, you know. One of the group really seized the moment by looking to the front door and saying, "Oh, hey, Stacy, have you got something?" So John, who was facing away from the door, had to think that she had returned right behind him, hearing everything he had said. Now, John was always a pretty pale guy like me, and most Germans. But on that day, he turned into a ghost for like 3 seconds. It took him almost breaking his neck, looking hastily over his shoulder to see that she was not there, and the guy had gotten the better of him, for want of a better word. Okay. Now, two sides to this story that I will go into. First of all is, yes, he's being a dick, and he's covering up his lack of self-confidence by saying shit like that. But the older you get, the more you kind of feel sorry for people like that, rather than being annoyed by them. And you try and build them up into, like, not needing that shit anymore. You just got to make sure that when you're building them up, you're not just fueling that ego, that you tell them that that's wrong, but you tell them, like, what's, you know, you try and build them up. What I will say, though, try not to be one of those friends who takes the piss out of a friend for trying on with a woman. That's like the worst bro behavior. That's almost as bad as sleeping with your girlfriend. Honestly, I put it up there as like really bad behavior. So for me, there is a saying that I like to remember when I'm about to approach somebody in a bar or any sort of one of those things, and I think I'm being judged by the guys around me. There's nothing a cowardly man loves more than when a brave man fails. Right? There's nothing a cowardly man loves more than when a brave man fails. Because that cowardly man can turn around to everybody and say, see, this is why you shouldn't even try. This is why you should be a loser just like me. Ignore it. Ignore it. You know what they're really thinking? Man, I wish I had his confidence. Because at one stage, if you approach enough groups and you work on yourself and your approach, somebody's going to take you up on the offer of a drink, my friend. Just going to say. Anyway, Sir Bouncy Bouncy says, "Hi North, a very quick story. This happened in roughly 2005. My local Games Workshop had 3 store staff in running a gaming night. I was only 11 at the time, and a friend who was older, around 13, was also there with me. It is after store hours, and the door is locked except to let people in to play. Ooh, that's wrong. That's wrong. That's against the law. So, as a Games Workshop store, you're not allowed to lock your door with people inside because it can be classed as kidnapping. I'm not joking. I'm not joking. It can be classed as kidnapping, especially if you have an 11-year-old and a 13-year-old boys in your store. Do not lock your door with them inside. For God's sake, don't do that, right? Okay, moving on. As usual, there was a small break in the games, and people crossed the road, being let out to go to the off-license to get some snacks. My friend goes alone this time, and unfortunately, on his return, right outside of the store, he is mugged and assaulted. Oh my god. I think he took at least 1 punch to the face. It is 3 chavvy lads. Okay, so in the UK, chavs are basically ghetto people, but they're mostly white. You know, so they're not, you know. Chavs are mostly working class, white, don't like people who are nerds, don't like people who are into rock music, that kind of a thing. At a guess, they are 16 or 18 mugging a 13-year-old, says Sir Bounty Bouncy. Luckily, one of the GW staff rushed outside to save him. Good lad. A brief altercation took place, fists flying. The Games Workshop guy was big, 6 foot, long ginger beard, good on him. Stout English pub drinker body. It took place pretty fast, but I'm sure he mostly pushed the kids back rather than beating them up, which I think he could have managed. I remember him coming back inside, his glasses bent, so the kids put up a fight and also hit him in the face. It was an interesting night for sure. Really proud though of how the staff member very quickly went and helped. It didn't stop anyone from returning, and the kid who was mugged returned next week with a black eye. He was buying pork scratching pork scratchings, and I would like to think that to this day he still does. The end. Wow, well, good on him. Good on that Games Workshop employee for heading out there and getting involved. You're told not to, for the most part, by Games Workshop. They don't like you getting involved in shit like that, but, you know, it is what it is. Alright, so, Natna says, and this is his last story for a little while. Hi, Exile. One final story for now. Every month or so, this little kid would show up on a Saturday to play at my Games Workshop store that I was running. He was probably 11 or 12, super quiet and nervous, and often just wallflowering it up by the table, standing there but not saying anything. His brother, or cousin, some older male relative, was the one who would bring him, and while the older dude painted or gamed, this kid would just sit in the corner like a scared puppy, and he was afraid to make eye contact. I felt bad for the kid, and also wanted people to play games, so I'd often set him up with other players there. If you came to the store with an army, more than likely you were hoping for a game, so why not make sure people got a chance? This little kid would nervously introduce himself to whoever opponent, and they'd start setting up on a table to play. Because of his brother or cousin, this kid had a gorgeous Eldar force, just a fantastic looking army, and he'd quietly set up across from his opponent. He'd mumble something about his upgrades or the like, and then stomp the living shit out of anybody that he played. I'm not even joking, this kid was a murder machine of Eldrad plus Wave Serpents plus Avengers. He knew his rules by heart, and probably knew your codex better than you did. As he played and won, Gon was the timid kid. Instead, he was basically a budding supervillain who'd grin evilly at you as he butchered army after army. He'd get to the point that I'd expect maniacal laughter to spurt out of his mouth. Then, as your force lays in tatters, your spirit broken over his knee, he'd quickly pack up his miniatures and resume sitting in the corner. Once more, this quiet wallflower. I think my entire time running the store, I saw him only lose 2 to 3 games in total, and he would play several times every week. It didn't take long for me to stop setting him up with opponents too. Sadly, because he was young and quiet, he'd often get asked to play by younger kids. They'd dump out their box of sloppily painted Smurf Marines, and I'd just sigh as I'd watch the devil grin form as Eldrad was deployed. That's probably enough for now. For all the drama, gripes and stress, I did enjoy many of my days working at Games Workshop, and I don't think I'll ever forget it. Thanks again, North. Appreciate all you do. You too, man. Well, you know, the only way you can really set kids like that up is to make sure that they're playing older people who know what they're doing, essentially. But, you know, it is what it is. Sometimes you don't have eyes in the back of your head, and you can't do several things at once. Anyway, that is my final story for the day. I love you all long time, guys. I hope you have a really good day today. I am thinking about coming out with a t-shirt with the words "Love you long time" on it, but we'll see. You know, I don't want anyone walking around the city centres with that on their shirts without like a logo or something. So I'll get on that. That'd be really nice to have a Teespring or something. But anyway, love you all. Hope you have a wonderful rest of your week. Tomorrow is Thursday, so I will be recording a podcast, but no video tomorrow, I don't think. We'll see. But I will be recording a podcast for our following week, and on Friday we'll be doing more Hobby Nightmares. Or I might do 2 videos on Friday. You never know. Depends how much energy I have left. Love you all. Have a really good day, and I'll speak to you then. Have a good one.